Good morning, everybody. Today is Thursday, September 13th, 2018. It's MMA Junkie Radio's pre-show. That's
me.
And I'm Bubba. All right, that worked. You knew you were blah, blah, blah?
Yeah, I knew. I could hear it in the context of your voice. Coming up in 30.
You can't hear nothing in the context of my voice. Nothing. Hi, George.
Hola. Are we rolling?
In about 10 seconds. You ready?
Let's do it.
Yep.
Stand by.
This is your captain speaking. We are making our descent into Las Vegas McCarran Airport. On behalf of our crew, we'd like to thank you for flying MMA Junkie Airlines. Now please fasten your seatbelts and put your tray tables in your upright position because the descent is going to be a little bit bumpy.
Alright, Junkie Nation, it's time to roll, baby, on MMA Junkie Radio with Gorgeous George and Gold. This is what we doing while we do it, baby. All night long, we rollin'! Yeah!
The MMA Junkie Radio revolution is upon us.
Can you dig it?
There's no escape. No escape. Through the vast frontier of cyberspace and through a sea of stars in outer space.
One small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
We've solidified our combat communication stranglehold.
We are controlling transmission.
With the use of MMA Junkie Radio and SiriusXM satellite radio technology. MMA Junkie Radio. Commence transmission. Live from MMA Junkie Radio HQ in the fight capital of the world, Las Vegas, Nevada. Here are your hosts, Gorgeous George and Goes.
From the fight capital of the world, inside the beautiful Mandalay Bay Racing Sportsbook, you are listening to the MMA Junkie Radio Show, the only show that matters. I'm your host, Gorgeous George. With me, as always, is the devious and dastardly Goes, our ace co-host. To my left, it's the fight analyst, Dan Tom. Back east, producing as always, it's Danny Otto. Today is Thursday, September 13th. Sorry.
Why were you said you got to be thinking of something? Thanksgiving?
I'm always thinking of Thanksgiving. No, I just blanked.
Oh.
I spaced. Yeah, that's just me. Accept that as me. 5 blunders per show. Yeah. I'm embracing it, though.
I want that to be me, too. That's me. Oh, this one.
I got a decade start on you, Goes. You start to fall apart.
I can screw up.
Today we have two guests. We have Dean Thomas, who was in the corner of Tyron Woodley. He's his head coach. Hey, along with Duke Rufus. They were now part of his 4th title defense this past Saturday at UFC 228. He also awarded Tyron Woodley with his Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. Dean used to fight in the UFC, as you all know, and he's also one of the co-stars of Looking for a Fight with Dana White. He, along with Matt Serra and Dana White, they travel the world looking for the next bright prospect. Although that thing kind of slowed down a little.
No, they just had one not too long ago.
Did they really?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I stand corrected. Valerie Letourneau is the other side of the equation from yesterday's guest, Ilima Lay McFarland, the Bellator flyweight champion, who will be defending her title at the recently announced Bellator 210 card in Honolulu, Hawaii. Her challenger will be Valerie Letourneau. So Valerie Letourneau will be our other guest. I think Ghost said something about maybe a third guest, so I think that's still...
I don't think that's going to happen.
No?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Junkie Nation, the rest is in your hands. We will touch on some news, because as I was flicking through MMA Junkie, there's some good stuff to have some good discussion or do our daily debate. But like I was saying, Junkie Nation, step up, man. Call in 866-522-2846. Let's discuss anything that's on your mind. There's still some 228 talk that I'm willing to have. Some of it I think we've kind of put on the back burner for now. Now it's just up to grabbing those key pieces like Woodley and Suarez and Sterling and waiting for their next fight bookings, who's healthy, who isn't. And then the ones that lost from those fight cards, what do we do with them? If you want to have some of that talk, okay, I'm totally down with it. But I think we have to also start turning the page. We got Alexei Oleinik and Mark Hunt out in Russia. They'll be headlining that fight night card on Saturday, which, by the way, I checked, and it's a 10:30 a.m. start time on Saturday for the East Coasters. West Coasters, 7:30 a.m. Now, that's the prelims, but it's all on Fight Pass, so basically you start at 7:30 a.m. Pacific, 10:30 a.m. Eastern, and go all the way through. If you really want me to split it up for you, there are four fights on a main card, all right, and that's at 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific. So you can pretty much count on at least 6 hours or so. I don't know, do the math. 11. Yeah, it'll end about 1 p.m. Pacific time. So that's 5.5 hours. Yeah, it's usually about 30 minutes per fight is usually what they budget. So it should be a fun morning/afternoon of fights. Also, East Coasters, we are keeping you in our thoughts and prayers. Many of you really close to the MMA Junkie family. I've been keeping an eye on that Hurricane Florence goes, and it's going to touch down tonight. And please pay attention to your local governors, mayors, policemen, fire people. If you really are in a zone where you need to evacuate, and I know you want to stand your ground, please make the wiser of the two decisions. You know, and because I'm hearing it's not only going to be the winds, the rain, but it's what's going to happen afterwards, you know, when there's going to be potential for floods and things like that. And
no food or water.
Yes, if you don't have all that, you know, what's the point of having a generator if it's submerged? You see what I'm saying? Or anything else. I know a lot of you want to stay back and look after your pets and things like that, but your pets need you too, and you also got to be looking out for yourself. So put your pets into your sports utility vehicle in your car, and there's a lot of shelters. Look into that. Give yourself every last chance, because it's supposed to be a really, really serious thing going out there, especially in the Carolinas. I believe North Carolina is going to get it the worst, but then you also got Virginia and South Carolina, and then, you know, as the storm goes inward, I think it's going to kick upward towards even Pennsylvania. So anyway, let me know what time the guests are. You booked today's show, so what are we looking at?
11 and 11:30.
All right, so we still got a whole hour here where we can touch on some of this news and take some calls. Big shout out to Dan from Oregon. I was on his show earlier today, and we were discussing fighter pay, and he broke some news to me. I guess Combate's headed to the zone. Did you see that one? Yeah. Mm-hmm. So it was fun chatting with him,
talking about them,
and talking with him, and I almost kind of like booked myself for a future show because we just ran out of time. I had to basically tell him, hey, look, I have to bounce because now I'm heading towards the Mandalay Beta to crank out the MMA Junkie Radio show. But thanks, Dan, for having me on your show. It was a ton of fun, and hopefully we can do it again. And when he gives me the links, I'll post it if anybody wants to check it out. My spot was about 30 minutes long, but it was really, really cool.
What's the show called?
Well, I see MMA Buds, B-U-D-Z, but when he introduced the show, or at least when we got started, he said something about brunch, and right away I got hungry. Mm-hmm. But so I got to figure that out.
That's how he lured you in?
I think so. Yeah, hook, line, and sinker.
I gotta check that out. Yeah, please post that, share that. I definitely want to check that out.
Yeah, it was cool. We had a really, really fun time. Tonight there's an NFL game. Don't forget, the NFL does their thing on Thursdays. And shout out to OLU. That's Orange Lutheran High School, the freshman team. My godson Logan is their starting quarterback. He's back in action. Last week they had a bye. He's back in action this week. All right, did you see right on the front page of MMA Junkie, guys? Mark Hunt, middle finger towards Fabricio Verdum. Fabricio Verdum just got the suspension handed out to him. He'll be out of the sport for 2 years for the anti-doping allegations that I guess were proven, you know, or at least he hasn't contested them. So 2 years he'll be out. And, of course, Hunt lost an interim heavyweight title to Fabricio Verdum. And Hunt has been real vocal about the fact that I think he's mixed it up in his career with about he's in the double digits with people that have had allegations thrown at him, and he's very, very displeased that's gone down that way. Now, granted, I think
who can't sympathize with that though?
Well, but in Japan, I think it was pretty well known that a lot of people could possibly be dabbling in that, and so there's. If they weren't enforcing it, then there's really not much you can say over there. You know what I mean?
He kind of knew it, right?
Kind of like me complaining about people running red lights in Brazil or Peru.
But some of those have been here.
Yeah, no. Over here, I think has been more of where he has taken more of a stand. But he seems to count like, hey, I've been doing this my whole career, so he'll throw in what happened in Pride. But in Pride it was a whole different sport, a whole different time back then. But so two things there, Mark Hunt, of course, always very vocal when it comes to this, cleaning up the sport, but also having a thing or two to say to Verdum, who, again, will be out of the sport for 2 years.
Hey, George, I believe someone came to your answer there for a question you said earlier. Steve Sparks says, MMA for brunch on MMA Buds, in reference to Dan from Morgan's show.
Oh, okay, cool. MMA for brunch on MMA Buds.
Yep.
Yeah. Hey, it was real cool the way he did it. He had some sort. I went on Skype, and then he just positioned me and had me on Google alerts, and it was fun, man. It was pretty cool. He, when he comes on the show, it just sounds like some college kid in a dorm, smoking and drinking and skipping school. But he had a nice little setup. It was really, really cool to see, and congrats to him. It's cool for being passionate and branching out. All right, Faber's saying it's very possible he fights again. You guys want that?
No.
Me neither.
Wait, hold on. It's not no because I'm afraid of his health. It's just no because I think he's just past that now.
He's grappling at Quintet. He'll be the opening matchup versus Kazushi Sakuraba. Now, we asked him, hey, are there other organizations that ever send things to you? Because when you retire, you go through filing paperwork with the UFC, and at that point in time, if you're free and clear, then if you get an itch or if somebody comes in with a serious offer, you can seriously consider it. But he was very clear with us where he said he's still under contract to the UFC and he's still under the USADA testing. So what I want to say is I just believe that as a featherweight, he's a little bit undersized, and as a bantamweight, he ran his course. Now, that said, you still have these Lawler and Bisping stories where someone just has some sort of a resurgence, and you put that fist on someone's chin at the right time, and boom, next thing you know, you're a world champion. He did have quite a few chances at the title, and it just didn't work out for him. But he also held the WEC title when that was regarded as the upper echelon of the lighter weight classes. He carried that organization. He was the face of that organization for many years. He just, those three letters, WEC, UFC, I'm sure he'd also would have liked to hold some UFC gold, but I just feel like if he comes back, he doesn't walk into an instant title shot. And he'd have to go through the gamut of the Mariases, Sterling now, Asuncao. There's teammate drama still out there if he wants it. Garbrandt, I mean, it wouldn't be Cruz because we've already seen.
It had to be there though, right?
Well, that's what he's saying that he would do for the UFC. But what I wanted to say is, had he been retired and he was free and clear, and let's say next year they adopt bantamweight for PFL, hey, that'd be a nice run, pocket $1 million. Not to say he's hurting for it, but maybe something like that, or a one-off in Japan. I don't know. But as far as like, would he fight again in the UFC? For what? I don't think it'd be for a title, so what would he be doing for? He has nothing to prove.
I don't think he needs the money.
Right.
So, I don't know.
Just the competitive juices?
But again,
I think he can get that from grappling, maybe.
It has nothing to do with his health. I think he's okay there. It's just, I just don't see a need for it.
Yeah, there'd have to be like a super sexy matchup, and to be honest, the only one I would even humor at this point, I don't know if, I feel bad even mentioning the name because he's battling health issues. That's Kid Yamamoto. The match that kind of never happened back in the day, and because your favorite
cancer,
more in that,
right?
Yeah. So I mean, I don't even want to speak on it. He's in the battle right now, but yeah, I mean, it'd have to be something like along those kind of matchups. Another guy, I'm sure.
That almost sounds like what Vitor was saying, kind of like these senior circuit or these woulda, shoulda, coulda matches that never came to fruition.
Or these weird matches, like another one on the front page of MMA Junkie. Still should be the BJ Penn one, right? And Ryan Hall.
Yeah, that's a trip.
That's a weird one, but it's
that's a trip. The internet sensation had mentioned that, and he said it was pegged for New York, possibly. He didn't really hang his hat on it. He said the matchup I'm hearing is done. Then he pulled back from whether it might happen in New York or not. But he was right. Ryan Hall and BJ Penn here in Las Vegas, UFC 232. So shout out to the internet sensation. And hopefully he's safe because he's a Carolina kid. He lives in Charlotte. It's a little bit more inland, but still. That thing's not just going to stop at the beach of Wilmington and turn around and go in another direction. All right. The Zone, they land Combate America's multi-year distribution deal. I want to read into that because I thought they were doing great on Univision.
I have a question about that.
Yeah.
With the Zone. So, if I want to watch Bellator, I need the Zone, certain cards. But that's not like an exclusive Bellator membership to the Zone, right? If I have
to pay
the Zone,
$10, yeah, and you get a bunch of other stuff.
Yeah, but I can get this as well, right? These aren't separate memberships I need. It'd be like if you bought YouTube, you get multiple shows, right?
Some fights will be exclusive to the Zone.
No, I get that. If I pay the Zone, whatever it is, $10 a month or whatever, I get Bellator and Combate, or do I have to pay separate?
Bellator and Combate, and the Anthony Joshua fight, and some soccer stuff. So they're starting to really stack that channel. You get all of it, all of it, boy. So that's not a bad deal. When it was just that, we were like, and ESPN Plus is also doing $5 a month, so we were like, hey, take it easy, DAZN. Are you going to be able to bring it like ESPN Plus is going to bring it? But they got busy and they started landing other content, other sports. Jan Blachowicz aims to finish Nikita Krylov. You know what Nikita Krylov said about leaving the UFC? He did it just so that he could do the comeback. I guess kind of smooth, right? Different twist. Ultimate Fighter 28, we're now 3 episodes in. We haven't really talked about it. We got really caught up with UFC 228 talk. The first week I hadn't even seen it, and now I'm all caught up with 3 of them. So if anybody wants to call in on that one, I'm more than willing to chime in. Maurice Green's gotten a win. That Pani Kiazad has gotten a win. And last night it was Josh Davis, I believe was his name. And Goes. Dan, you haven't seen the thing, right?
No.
But you have Goes?
Yeah.
I thought Davis, when they went through the whole first episode, I thought he was a tomato can. It was either the magic of editing or just the things he was saying himself or even the coaches. I was like, oh wow, this guy just doesn't even belong. He got a win.
What did you think of episode?
It was pretty dominant.
What did you think of episode 2 with the whole dental stuff? We never talked about that, right?
Penny
I forget how to pronounce her name, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, like you said, her tooth must have already been weak. You can't just. I've ripped many things open with my tooth.
Do you have a phobia like that though, to that extreme?
That would suck to have to get all this.
She was just a mess. She didn't want to deal with it at all.
Yeah.
That's the guy that I think.
I don't have a phobia.
To the house, by the way.
Josh Davis?
No, remember I was telling you that?
Oh, yeah. That's the guy, huh? Yeah, I mean, they never really went into specifics, but she was trying to rip something open with her tooth, and it just
glove, I think, right?
Yeah.
Was it a glove? Yeah. She was trying to pull it, and I mean, your tooth has to be very weak for that to happen. Either that or you really gotta chomp down.
Right. Oof. Yeah, it was nasty. But
she wasn't in more pain.
She got a win, and Kelvin Gastelum's team is up 3-0 on Robert Whittaker's team. And I know these guys, Whittaker can always go, well, I'm the champ. What do I care? But they're all pretty competitive. They want to win the coaches challenge. They want to win for their fighters. These guys just want to win. Gastelum's not really rubbing it in or nothing like that, so it's pretty respectful between the two. Mm-hmm. But still,
but Bobby Knuckles isn't shining yet, I feel. Gastelum has had some good moments, but Knuckles seems almost out of place.
All I know is I just saw a clip on Twitter of Gastelum telling a guy to fight like he's banging his wife. That's all I saw.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't hear that.
You didn't see that? No, yeah.
You sure?
Yeah, it was a clip. It was a clip there.
For last night's episode?
Yeah, he even pantomimes to the guy in the corner. He gets low and squats because he's like, next time you get into his guard, I need your hips.
Oh, that makes sense.
Get your hips in like you're banging your wife, okay? And the guy's like, yes, sir. He's like trying to catch his breath, like he's just taking it like very serious.
The fight was on the ground quite a bit.
Didn't Tank tell Eve that one time in a fight?
What do you tell him?
Remember he said he just looked up and Tank was there and he said something like that.
Oh wow!
I'm glad you brought that up because like this is one of the I've been trying to think of top 5 ideas for my podcast, some fresh ones, and one that comes up. I don't know if seems like it's too much homework, but there's just so much awesome stuff to pick from. But top 5 in corner moments in MMA. Like I know there's a lot that come to mind, but it just feels like they're just. It also feels like there'd be a lot of homework because I feel like you'd miss some key stuff.
Good, fuck him.
Yeah.
What about Roy Longo? Punch a hole in his fucking chest.
Are
you looking at that, or are you looking at sexual stuff?
No, everything. Good stuff. You know, like, I don't want to give too many away because like the ones I'm thinking of would probably end up on my list. But there's a lot, right? There's a lot of great moments.
I don't have that kind of a memory, but I bet you there's some brilliant ones out there that Junkie Nation could scoop up.
Yeah.
If you ever want to post on our radio show, and maybe you'll get 20, and you'll have a bigger pick of the litter to pick from. You know, but.
They're nice though because they're such small like random parts of a fight that you're not expecting. You're almost catching your breath with the fighter as a viewer when you're invested into a fight. So when these moments do pop up, they almost catch you by surprise and become.
Are you one that goes back and looks at red corner and blue corner footage on Fight Pass or no?
Depends if
there's great stuff there.
There is. I'll do it if I'm like trying to research. Okay, what's this guy's corner telling him? Like what if I'm trying to figure out why?
That's months later, right?
Yeah, that's months later.
That's what I'm saying. But do you go back after the fight, like within a day or two, just to check that stuff out?
Not really. I mean, unless there's like a something that's like like a Coach Edmond did something funny. And, you go back and you go look and you know what I'm saying, like something unless it's something within those lines, but yeah, there's I'll burn one. I'll burn one of my favorite in corner ones. You guys remember this is one of the best heavyweight fights ever. Bigfoot Silva versus Mark Hunt.
Yeah.
And I forget the guy's name, but he's the chief. He's the older Islander dude that always corners Mark Hunt. And it's the fourth. It's the third round going into the fourth, I think. And Mark Hunt almost got messed up. He got dropped, and he also got his leg collapsed from leg kicks. So like he could stand on his leg, and he's limping back to his corner. And his coach goes, 3 things, Mark. 3 things. 3 things to win the fight, Mark. 3 things. Hard. And it was just great, and it was just like out of a movie. Like you're never like a movie couldn't write that, and even if it did, it wouldn't do it. I don't care what actor you put, how good the movie is, the director, it's not going to be as good as that scene right there. Like those are the kind.
And that's an epic fight. That's over 5 years old.
Yeah,
right?
Brisbane.
So Junkie Nation, if you've never seen that, what he's referencing, check out Mark Hunt versus Bigfoot. They fought twice too, right?
Yeah, don't look at the result.
Watch
the fight.
Look at the first one. It's the first one that was good.
Watch the first fight and don't look at the result.
I mean, you will thoroughly enjoy it. What's that?
We were in Big Bear for that one.
Okay, then
5 years ago.
Then I know it was in, I believe November of 2013, because I know we went like a month after we went to Afghanistan.
Oh.
So yeah, I guess we would be pushing almost 5 years. It's coming up. All right, Joe Rogan says, would love it. That's his quote. If Bellator developed into a full rival for the UFC. So think back to Pride and UFC, how pretty close they were in terms of what people felt like, hey, the best fighters are here. The best fighters are here. You polled 150 people or 100 people, there'd be like 50 on each side. Hell, at that point, I think some people were leaning more towards Pride. But still, it was kind of like a 1-2 horse race. I wouldn't say Strikeforce got as close to the UFC as the UFC was to Pride or Pride was to the UFC, depending on what your opinion was. But Strikeforce made quite a run, and they've proved it. They validated it by the world champions that came over to the UFC, like Luke Rockhold, current ones, Daniel Cormier and Tyron Woodley. Cormier in 2 weight classes, by the way. Ronda Rousey. So they definitely proved, hey, we're just as good. Bellator, I don't believe the feeling is that they're what Strikeforce was. But to their credit, they have signed some really, really good fighters, and those fighters have done well, and those fighters have picked up key wins while they've been with the UFC, so that respect's there. Versus when they just come up through the UFC like a Ben Askren. The first question would be, if he went to the UFC, well, yeah, but how's he going to do in the UFC? We haven't seen it. Whereas like a guy like Bader and McDonald, we've seen it. We don't have to wonder. But what do you guys think of that? I understand what he's saying. I would love for Bellator to push the UFC, but to be a full rival?
No.
Our lives would fall apart. The UFC sucks up so much of our lives. Imagine if Bellator was the rival, and now it's Friday and Saturday. I mean, my head would explode.
You'd have to pick which way you watch fights, because there's some people that only watch them because they want to know who is the best middleweight.
That's
in the world,
another thing.
light heavyweight in the world. They want to know that, right? That's what drives them. That's why they watch it. There's some people that just want to see a scrap and they don't give a fuck what it's about or what.
Yeah.
If you're that guy, you don't give a crap, you just want to see good fights, then that would work for you. If you want to know who the best is, try living about 10, 15 years ago when we're trying to figure out, is it Vanderlei? Is it Chuck? Who the fuck is it? Who is it? Is it
Dan?
Fedor? Is it
or is it Rich? Is it Gummy? Or is it BJ? Yeah.
That sucks.
Yep. You guys are right, and here's my take. It's kind of an amalgamation of both your guys' takes in a sense. I'm all for it in the sense I think I got to hear the full context, but I think Rogan means it as far as for the fighters, money, business, competition is good for business. If we're looking at it just from that sense, and I agree from that sense, and I want more fighters, and more competition means more jobs for media and more everything. That's all great, but the problem is we're already, like Go said, we're already kind of being saturated from the UFC and Bellator. Regardless of where you think they stand in comparison to the UFC, they have picked up their schedule like the UFC, right? They have expanded their world global markets like the UFC. So we're kind of, I think my opinion is we're kind of already headed this way already, but if Bellator were, let's just say, on a hypothetical even playing field, then I think we would be that much of a step closer to where we're already moving, which I think is toward boxing, where we're going to have, with so many cards, we're only able, we see it with all the sites, even our own site, and how I'm breaking down fights. We're having to restructure what we focus on. I can't be focusing on all these undercard fighters. They're really, it feels like they're just, God bless these guys, and I want the best for them, but as far as the UFC is concerned, they're just filling advertising space to fill these card schedules because of all the masters that they have to serve for their contractual obligations.
It would be good for the fighters, though. Can you imagine if Bellator was worth $7 billion and they were getting a lot of money from whoever the direct rival of ESPN is?
Their agency would be crazy.
That would be nutty, but still, wondering who's the best, that would suck.
But the counterbalance of that oversaturation is we would go to boxing in the sense of, we got the WBA champ over here versus the this champ over here, because we would do the same thing. Bellator champ versus UFC, which is great. We would want that as fans. There was a lot of that with the Pride versus UFC. Who's going to cross over? Who's going to do this? And we would probably get those, and maybe we would get more super fights, and it would be more money for the top end. But I just think it would be more disparaging for the low end. There'd be more opportunities on paper, like the politicians. I created X amount of jobs. I'm like, well, look at the kind of jobs you created. Let's look at those numbers for a second. You know what I'm saying? It's going to be a double-edged sword.
That's what would happen. Is we'd be fans of the top guys and gals at Bellator and the top guys and gals at UFC, and not so much the undercard. We may not even be prelim and undercard guys. Yeah. We may just be main card guys if we really have that type of a schedule to keep. But it would benefit the fighters a lot. So if you're pro fighter like a Dan from Morgan, and pro fighter pay going up like a Dan from Morgan, then sure, yeah, that would be something else. But man, all I think about is when the USFL had certain guys like Jim Kelly and Herschel Walker and Steve Young. I was like, God, it'd be nice to see him in the NFL. Like, I only have time for the NFL. Now, if Bellator passes the UFC and they become the NFL, what's up? I'm over here, Just kidding. You know what I mean? Who knows what will happen? I don't even know what will happen. I don't even know if it will happen in my lifetime. But it seems like I only have time for the NBA and the NFL. And like when Krylov went over to ACB or FNG or wherever he was, if I tuned into his fight, great. Or when what's the guy, the flyweight, the Japanese kid? I almost said Yamaguchi. Who? Horiguchi. Yeah, when he fights, I have to watch because he's a ranked fighter. But man, there's just not enough time to get to these. I'd rather have them all under the one umbrella. Bellator's been around since 2010, and they sucked me in. Maybe even more. 2008. They sucked me in with their tournaments. I really, really love tournaments, and so now they're a part of my life. PFL's doing it with the $1 million giveaways, but everyone else, they've tried and they haven't succeeded. And I just don't have the time. But it was interesting that he said that, and it made my head spin. We should take a break. You're listening to MMA Junkie Radio on Sirius XM's Fight Nation Channel 93. Stay close. We'll be right back.
They are the stretch marks on the underbelly of the MMA community. But hey, stretch marks are the new tax. They are Gorgeous George and Goes.
SiriusXM and the Weather Channel want to help keep you and your family safe during Hurricane Florence. The Weather Channel is being simulcast on SiriusXM Channel 145 for both subscribers and non-subscribers. Hear the latest on the storm's path and what to do if it's headed your way. A special presentation of the Weather Channel on SiriusXM. Channel all active and inactive SiriusXM radios. Alright, remember, inactive radios. So if you had them at one time, good to go. That's channel 145. It's the Weather Channel on SiriusXM. Or if you're just a non-subscriber, you've never signed up, boom. Look after yourselves. And if you know anybody that could benefit from this, please let them know. It's channel 145 on SiriusXM. TJ Dillashaw's hinting at champ versus champ fight, or that the UFC's hinting at a champ versus champ fight. In other words, Dillashaw versus Cejudo. What do you think?
One thing has to happen for sure, and it's DJ has to say, I couldn't make it to a rematch in enough time. Then that would make sense. But other than that, how are you going to take one of the greatest fighters ever and not give him a rematch, an immediate one?
Well, they did it with Aldo.
And even then, it's kind of like, I don't know.
Yeah, I agree. I think you should get an immediate rematch, but who knows what they're thinking. Would I watch it? Of course I'd watch it, but I just, yeah, if I get started, Assunção, Moraes, Cruz, like, he's got people waiting for him, you know, and Cejudo's also got people waiting for him. It's just not the time, not yet. I'm not against it, but I just don't feel like it's the time. Dillashaw last year against DJ, the reason I thought it was the time then was because Cruz was really hurt at the time. Moraes hadn't gone on his knockout spree yet. Assunção had a little bit of a case because he's always had that 1-1 versus Dillashaw. But basically they had a date set and Garbrandt was hurt. So Dillashaw was like, well, I'm already in camp. And this would be his 10th. Remember at the time it was only going to be his 10th title defense, which would break the record. Or, sorry, he was on 10, and I think it was going to break it at 11. So he was tied for the record. And he was like, hey, why not make it against another guy who at one time wore a belt? And I thought he had a point there. But now that the deck's been reshuffled, I'm not ready for it. Yeah. Yair Rodriguez, he wants to settle his business with the Beast, Magomed Sharapov, because they had the matchup. He bowed out to injury. And so now he's saying, hey, okay, let's do it now. Has the ship sailed for Yair on that matchup? Or are you warm to it? Because remember, he wants Mendes.
Yeah, it's kind of started to go away, but it's such a good matchup that I would be willing to look the other way. I'm good.
I don't think the ship has sailed, but I'm not warm to the matchup.
You don't like it?
I didn't think it was a good idea beforehand where Yair is coming from. He's coming from a potentially career change. You know, we talk about law. We were just talking about yesterday in the show. You brought it up, George. Guys, you know, kind of being brought up too soon and the bad things that can happen from it. You cited some good examples. I think another one, you know, potentially is that Yair Rodriguez, Frankie Edgar. We haven't seen him since. I'm not one to criticize Yair. I believe him with the injuries and all that. And I think it's good that he's taking this time off. I'm not criticizing him one bit, but it's a delicate time. I think that's for sure. Now you're going to go in against a beast like Zabist, you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. That being said, on the flip side, I don't like Zabist call out either, Chad Mendes. I feel like Chad Mendes, on paper, is the worst matchup for Magomed Sharapov, a wrestler that can dictate where the fight goes. So now you take Zabit, which is underrated wrestling, you take the wrestling out of the equation, and you got that knockout power, right? Which he has, and he showed that he still it hasn't gone anywhere with his speed and knockout power in that Miles Jury return. So I actually don't like. I'll add on to it. I don't like Zabit's call out of Mendes either. I don't know what you guys feel about that. You don't want to see him
just scrap though for the fun of it.
Yeah, but there's plenty of guys that could scrap for the fun of it. You know?
No, I mean the particular matchup of Zabit and Yair.
Oh, I think it'd be a fun matchup. I think it'd be a fun matchup in that sense. I'm just not sure if I would. I dig it for. I'd say either guy.
Just be an MMA junkie, just to see two guys scrap. You wouldn't have fun?
Yeah, it'd be fun. Yeah, it'd be fun. Yeah, I can't deny that it'd be fun.
I want to welcome to the show, if you'll slide over. All right. One of the top managers in the game. I love getting surprises like this.
Yeah.
King Mo does this a lot. He just pops in. This is Brian Butler from Sucker Punch Entertainment. manager to fighters like Max Holloway, Felice Herrig, Douglas Lima, Carlos Esparza. That list can definitely go on and on. Hey, good to see you, Brian.
Good to see you guys, man. I
thought you were more like just landed at McCarran.
No, I got here and I was like, oh, my hotel's connected to this place, and I didn't know. I heard you guys were moving studios or something, so I just shot you a text. I was like, are you guys still in this building?
Yeah.
Oh, we did move for a little bit. Did you notice they redid the big screens there? So it was really noisy, so we had to do a show.
All they did was kick us out for 3 weeks, but we didn't move studios.
Yeah, so I didn't know. That's why I sent you the text, and I was like, oh, I literally, in the building, so.
Very cool. How you been?
Good, man. Traveling, busy. We're here this week for the Olympias with Max and Felice.
Oh, okay.
They're both coming in.
Over at the Orleans, or did they move the venue?
Is it the convention center, right?
Yeah, Las Vegas. Well, they've done both.
Mm.
I know you can go to the Orleans and a lot of people take the shuttle from there.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think it's at the Hilton now.
And then when you told me something about Felice, I thought, wow, maybe she's finishing camp at the UFC PI, but it's just for a weekend and then back to camp.
Yeah, she's going to train while she's out here. Actually, her and Max are going to train together. She might, I don't know. They're going to go to the PI, and some other people might join us.
Mm-hmm. All right, cool, man. Well, hey, it's always great to see you. Do you want us to plug away and take advantage of this spot here? We got questions, or
I mean, yeah, you can ask me to go.
Because we were actually discussing something else.
I thought you only did shows on like Monday or something like that.
Look at this guy.
I don't know, man. I'm sorry. I've been so
Monday
out of
through
the
Friday.
Monday through Friday.
We're Monday through Friday. We've been at Mandalay Bay for almost 10 years. He's like, I thought you guys were Asian. All right. Just only because you mentioned it, Max, how's he doing?
He's doing good.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. We've been hearing that I think they're gonna make this thing happen. I think, was it Brian Ortega? He did an interview, right? End of the year.
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah. That'd be great. We just want him to get healthy first.
Yeah.
And then we'll worry about the title defense.
I'm not sure how much he believed what he said.
Brian.
Yeah. But it'd be great.
Yeah.
And Felice, she's fighting in a few weeks. Who else you got going soon?
I got Douglas Lima coming up September, is it 28th or 29th in that welterweight tournament?
Yeah, over there in San Jose.
Yeah, and that's going to be a fun one. He's fighting Korshkov again.
Yeah.
And then Felice, I got a bunch of regional guys going this weekend. So actually a ton of them in LFA and Combate and stuff like that.
Are you still working with Carla?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. She's actually coming.
I gotta say, man, the sport for a lot of people hinges on the wins and the losses. But as a fan, as a member of the media, I can appreciate a great effort. And even though she lost, she was just always battling. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Against Tatiana Suarez, and I got a lot of respect for that. She had some nice sweeps.
Yeah.
She had some nice reversals. I wish she would have got her hands going a little bit, because her hands have improved so much in the last two fights. Now she's got power. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's what we were hoping she'd be able to establish some of that, but it was just, it just went straight to the mat. So, she's doing good. She's gonna join us here. I think she's coming in tomorrow as well. Mm-hmm. So.
About things back home. I mean, I know
you're
a lot
in
of people
Virginia.
are going through stuff there, and that's kind of hitting home, right? The hurricane?
It took a turn, so it was coming straight at us, and then apparently it took a turn, and it's not really. We're just going to get a lot of rain.
Oh.
You're in Richmond, Virginia,
I'm in Richmond,
right?
yeah.
Okay, and so it took a turn as in downwards towards the Carolinas?
Towards the Carolinas, yeah.
Okay, so it doesn't affect you. Nobody has to evacuate.
No, but people in Carolina it's supposed to be even worse now.
What about our friends in Norfolk?
I think they're okay.
They're okay too?
Yeah,
I see that thing spinning, and I don't know if I should just concentrate on the eye or the whole thing,
I mean, Norfolk and Richmond are like hour and 10 minutes apart, so it's not, I think they're safe.
Our good friend had to evacuate.
Yeah.
But
he knows them.
Who?
Alton.
Oh, Alton had to? From where?
But
Norfolk?
He lives right on the beach, so maybe it's a different story.
When did he evacuate?
2 days ago.
Really?
Yeah.
I got to call and check up on him.
Yeah.
That guy's awesome.
Yeah. All right. Well, but you're safe then.
Yeah, we're all good. We're all good. How you guys been?
Good, man.
Good.
Yeah, I like your watch. Now, is that Rockwell?
No.
What is it?
AP? Audemars Piguet.
Well, that sounds fancy.
A little fancy.
Is it fancy?
Yeah.
Four numbers or 5 numbers? Is that more than a $10,000 watch?
Or
is it
it's hot seat.
Come on, it's not gonna ask you how many women you slept with or not. It's just the price of the watch. So okay, so it is. Nice. Look at you. Though. It's cool, man. I like it.
Wow, that's that one.
He's ashamed because
takes text messages and everything.
Wow, I've never heard of that brand. I'm not the biggest watch guy, but I walk by there and I just dream from time to time. There's a Breitling I've been staring at for 10 years, and I don't even know if Breitling's still in or not. But maybe by the time I get around to it, people go, oh, that's yesterday's news. Who knows? I see the Rolexes, the Mont Blancs, this, that, whatever. But
Breitling is like...
Oh, man, why you got to clown it? What if I get it?
Because you shouldn't get it.
There's so many more.
There's so many other brands that you can get that are better than Breitling for the same price.
Yeah? Are you a watch guy?
I like watches.
Okay. All right. Let's take a quick break. You're listening to MMA Junkie Radio on Sirius XM's Fight Nation Channel 93. Stay close. We'll be right back.
Their fighting style is described as fluffy, but their radio style is on point. Here are George Goes and Dan.
Sirius XM's The Highway and Ram Trucks have your chance to win the all-new Ram 1500. One grand prize winner will drive off in the new Ram 1500 equipped with the best radio on the road, the Sirius XM 360L. It's the newest and most amazing way to experience Sirius XM. For official rules and to enter, go to SiriusXM.com/RAM. Do that before September 19th. Online entries only. Certain eligibility restrictions apply. See the official rules, and no purchase is necessary to enter or to win. All right, Brian Butler from Sucker Punch hanging out with us. He's actually in town and happened to come by and say hello, and we pulled him in. So he's hanging out here for about another 12 minutes to the top of the hour, and we will be catching up with Dean Thomas and Valerie Letourneau on today's show. You're more than welcome to call in, 866-522-2846. And just want to do one last bit of news. Lyoto Machida, he will debut in Hawaii at Bellator's event, Bellator 210, On December 15th, he's fighting their former champion in the middleweight division at Bellator, Rafael Carvalho. And Khabib versus McGregor, they're having a press conference set for September 20th in New York. So if you're in that...
It's closed to the public, though, I believe.
Oh,
right?
is it?
Yeah.
At Radio City Music Hall?
I thought that's what I read, that it was supposed to be closed to the public.
Well, that's dumb.
I know.
Man, Bellator in Hawaii, that's awesome.
And it's on DAZN.
Exactly.
So they're putting some pretty good names for those people that were saying maybe the DAZN cards will suffer a little bit. Those are decent names.
Brian, of course everything's for the fighter, but is this one of those occasions where when Bellator announces this, you look at who do I have in Bellator and who doesn't have a fight book maybe that needs a fight book to go down there?
In Hawaii, I've got almost all of Hawaii. So
there you go. So you'll be going. So you think you'll be?
I'm probably going to be going to that for sure. Yeah,
nice.
I think we're going to get quite a few guys on that card.
Nice.
All right, let's take a couple quick calls here. We got to blast through them because we have guests coming up. Showtime in Tennessee. What's up, Showtime? It's yo time.
What's going on, fellas? And shit, Brian Butler rocking an AT. He doing a little something.
Oh, so he's a watch guy.
Making me feel bad talking about. Yeah, you know I'm a watch guy, man. He's making me feel bad talking about the Breitling, man, because I have a Breitling that.
I mean, they're okay. I'm just.
Way to go, Brian.
Yeah. Hey, it was like a. I think that watch was about $8,500. It's not a cheap watch at all.
Which one, the Breitling or
his?
his?
Story behind that. Yeah, I actually had one that was more expensive with a diamond bezel. Somebody stole it, and I claimed it on my insurance and through my house. I mean, I was able to get another one, but I went just a little less flashier with the other one that I purchased. So that's the little story behind that.
It's just the brand that everybody goes to first because they've heard is a popular brand. So everybody, when they get their first nice watch, they usually go for a Breitling.
You're right about that. So he's like, put it like this, George, talking about watches. This is like having maybe a 600 Benz or something, and you see that guy roll by you in the new Rolls Royce. That's pretty much what he got on his wrist. Put it like that.
Man, I thought he was going to say 7 Series. He went way beyond that.
No,
that would be a tough pill to
negative,
swallow, George.
Yeah. All right.
That's like a race.
All right.
Hey guys, talking about the upcoming fights coming up, man. I'm actually a little bit excited, especially about them getting to Hawaii, man. I wish it's crazy that you got Brian on. I wouldn't mind seeing Max fight in Hawaii. That's actually what I was going to talk
Max
about.
Max wouldn't mind that either.
Yeah, I think that'll be big, man. And the Hawaii, and my nephew plays football at Utah State, and they have quite a bit of, I think, with a couple Hawaiian guys and Samoan guys on the team. And they have to do the dance when they come out before the game. And that's like exciting as hell, you know. And I just think that'll be a real good thing, man, to get the Hawaiian people involved in this great sport of ours, man.
Yeah. Well, listen, thanks for the call. No doubt, man. You got not just Max, but Yancy Medeiros, the Rachel, Ostrovich. They have quite a few fighters that have been lined up now and that have been doing well for themselves that could benefit from, that card. But I think Max obviously would be a huge start. Bellator got there first, but it doesn't mean the UFC can't get there. The UFC's talked about doing the outdoor stadium, but because of the unpredictability of the weather, who knows? But hey, look, they've been to other places, and aside from Blaisdell, which I've been to, which is about 8,000, they have one for the University of Hawaii, which is between 12 and 15,000, and there's nothing wrong with that, you know what I mean? But get down there, because that is a part of the world that you just have to reach at some point, man. I'm telling you, the Blaisdell Arena went off when I went there, and this was back in 2006. They were going crazy for Cabbage Correa versus Butterbean, for crying out loud. All right, let's go to Marco in Waco, Texas. What's up, Marco? How you doing?
Marco from Waco, ¿qué pasa, dude? And Brian Butler.
What's up?
Hey.
Remind me that the Ultimate Fighter was going on, man. I totally forgot about it. I missed it. The last 3 episodes, I had to catch up. Damn it. When it comes to the Hawaii stadium, man, I saw U2 and Pearl Jam there live when I went to Hawaii in 2007, right after my deployment. There's nothing wrong with that freaking place, man. I go there around December. It's not going to rain, and it's not cold at all, man. I don't know what the UFC is waiting, man. They're just...
They said it also had to do with the sanctioning of the state of the sport or something like that. So.
Yeah, the Hawaiian Tourist Commission or something like that. There was lots of issues there. UFC wants to go there for sure.
Well, now that Bellator made it happen, maybe the other guys will react. Yeah. Who'd you see? You two and who else?
No, well, I think, man, you guys were talking about Bellator.
Ricky Martin.
Like, what was it? A co-equal part of the UFC. And didn't we see this movie already? What happens at the very end? The big anaconda that is the UFC swallows Bellator, and then you see all those fighters going and get integrated into the UFC roster. And we were all happy when it happened to Bryce. We were all happy when it happened to Flashford. And we were all happy when it happened to the WEC, when they got integrated into the UFC, man. So, I don't know about that, man. Let Bellator be Bellator so it doesn't get swallowed by the big anaconda. He's out.
See it. Hey, well, we weren't implying that was happening. It was just a comment from Joe Rogan that he'd love to see Bellator get as big as the UFC, but we haven't heard anything about the UFC buying any other organizations. They haven't done that since, I guess, Strikeforce was probably the last one. Kevin in Chicago, you're up next. What's up, Kevin?
What's up, guys? Now, before I get to my rant, I want to ask Brian, what's up with Pat Curran? I thought he was supposed to fight A.J. McKee.
I don't know. I actually don't manage Pat anymore.
Oh, you don't manage him anymore? Okay.
No, I still work with his cousin Jeff and everybody, but not Pat.
Okay. Now, what I want to talk about was MMA pundits. I think they kind of rely on the MMA ratings. Oh, is this guy going to draw? I just hear Brendan Schaub talk about it a lot, about drawing, and I don't follow MMA to see who draws. I follow MMA to see who's the best fighter. I mean, I'm not getting paid any pay-per-view dollars. I'm not getting any ratings. Nothing comes into my pocket, so I just see who's the best fighter. That's all I care about. So I'd like to see MMA pundits. I know they get paid on MMA clicks to their website, but talk about who's the best fighter. Focus on that. I know Darren Till, he might draw, but it's not about who draws. It's about who the best fighter is. I'd like to be focused on that.
Kevin, we're in the same boat. We're in the same boat. I want to see who the best are, but sometimes people will call into this show and go, hey, how come so-and-so is fighting? And even though we're talking about A versus B, you'll hear us sometimes say, oh, but B's a draw. I mean, we're trying to give you the answers to your questions, but we don't start off by saying because he's a draw.
It doesn't mean we agree with it.
Right. I would love to see the best always fighting the best. But sometimes when it comes down to, like, why was it Till over Usman? Hey, man, their records are pretty close. They both have beaten tough guys. And then someone says, hey, Darren Till draws. Well, that's one hell of a tiebreaker for a business like the UFC. And you know them. They're into making money. But that was a great call, Kevin. And I really do agree with that first point. I want to see the best versus the best. We'll be right back after these messages.
G's in every line. Throw them up and let something shine. Going out of my fucking mind. Filthy mouth, no excuse. Find a new place to hang this noose. String me up from atop these roofs. Not it tight so I won't get loose. Truth is you can stop and stare. Run myself out and no one cares.
What about you? Do you appreciate that?
I do. Whoa. Here we go. It's the second hour of the MMA Junkie Radio Show. Brian Butler literally just ducked in and ducked out. He wanted to say hello. We pulled him in to do a quick segment with us, but we'll probably see him tomorrow. Felice Herrig's in town, so we're looking to maybe book her. We've known Brian for a long time. He really is one of the good guys in the sport. All right, so half of the equation to this title fight in Hawaii on December 15th, we spoke to her yesterday, the champion, Ilima Lei McFarland. Her opponent, Valerie Letourneau, is on hold, and we'll be talking to her in just a second. Remember, this is the Bellator flyweight title, and both of these ladies fought in Temecula. I was at those fights. It was fun, man. It was a great night for women's MMA. It was a great night for women's MMA at Bellator. I thought they both made statements, and I'm glad they paired them up, and it's going to happen in Hawaii. I think all of that is epic. Again, December 15th on DAZN, and look at the card they're building around it. Lyoto Machida, recent signing for Bellator. He fights Rafael Carvalho, their former champion at the middleweight, in the middleweight division. And Neiman Gracie versus Ed Ruth. Someone's O must go. Gracie 7-0, Ruth 6-0. Valerie joins us now on the hotline. Hi, Valerie. How are you?
Hi, guys. I'm good. Thank you.
All right. Great to hear from you again. You're on with George, Goes, and Dan from the MMA Junkie Radio Show here at the Mandalay Bay. We saw you a few months ago with Hector. How have you been? How was your summer?
Yeah. That was great. That was great. I had a great time. I took a little time off this summer, spent time with my daughter in Canada. So that was great. I feel good. I'm ready to go.
I saw a recent post by Hector where he was thanking the guys. I think you guys may have been in Sweden, if I'm not mistaken. I saw him with Manuel. He wrote something about Gustafsson, but I didn't see him in the picture. But was that a recent trip?
Yeah, you're right about that. We just got back 2 days ago, and then we are going to fly to Brazil this weekend for his fight in Brazil, September 22nd. So he did his all training camp there. I just went there for a week to see his last week. I didn't really train there much, but it's such a beautiful place. I love Stockholm.
I know you guys have trained in Germany, and now you're telling me a little bit about Sweden. How would you rate the training that's available out there in Europe compared to the United States? Are they right on par, pretty much? Have they caught up to what we're doing in North America?
Oh, they have really good training. Absolutely. They're not behind anything, honestly. I think the more I'm seeing this, I've been in this world for about 20 years. Sometimes the smaller gym have the better training. You have more attention. It's more focus on you than when you have about 150 fighters. I mean, you can you're just one of the number. So sometimes it's better to go in a smaller gym where you have really good trainers and you get a good training. And for Hector, it's more for him to get the right training partner too. It's pretty much the same for me too. We've been doing this for so long. It's not like we're going to learn a whole bunch of new things. But to get the right training partner and the right people around him. So that's why he went there. He had a good camp in Germany too. But this time, the people he was training last year were not in town. So it was more the fact that he couldn't get the right training partner for this camp. He found the right people in Sweden.
Once you get back from Brazil, where will you be doing your training camp for this title fight?
Oh, in Florida. I will be back. I got myself a place in Montreal because I was missing my town a little bit, and my daughter wanted to spend more time there. So I still have I really miss my trainers there. You can always have the best of both, in every place you're going to have really good sides and bad sides. So for me, my best training partners are here. I have some really good coach with some other coaches that I really miss from Montreal. So I'm going to be traveling for this camp in both sides, Montreal and Florida, but it's going to be mostly at ATT.
Who are your main coaches? I know they have a lot of them there, but who are the main ones you train with, and who are like your main training partners?
Main coach, I would say very much Hector and Mike Brown.
Oh, okay, that's a good
They
one.
are very the one that are, for me, I really trust whatever they're going to say.
Right.
And I don't trust that many people. And I think the older I get, I'm like, no, that's the way I want to do it. That's the way I think. But these two, they can really change my mind on something. So like, all right, they know what they're talking about. My main training partners, I have a lot of them. Honestly, every camp, I really adjust on who I'm fighting. So some camp, if I'm fighting a striker, then I'm going to use more of a striker. My last camp, it was more Trisha Cicero. She had the same type of kick as my opponent, which was her main skill. Like for Christina, she was throwing a lot of kicks. This camp, I'm fighting a grappler, so I'm going to use other people for this camp. I have a girl Anna at the gym. There's a couple people that I have in mind for this camp. So we really adjust for whoever we're going to fight.
And by the way, how about a business trip to Hawaii? It doesn't get any better than that, right?
Oh, man, I'm so lucky for the place I've been fighting, seriously. My first title fight was in Australia. How can I complain? It was my dream place to go, and just the energy is so good, and I have no problem to go to Hawaii, even if it's her country. First of all, she deserves it. She's been pushing really hard for this, and, I mean, really, how can I complain about this?
Right. Valerie Letourneau is our guest here on MMA Junkie Radio. She'll be facing Ilima-Lei Macfarlane in Honolulu, Hawaii on December 15th. Macfarlane will be defending her women's flyweight title. What do you have for Valerie Letourneau?
Well, that's exactly what I want to talk about. The fact that it's in Hawaii. When I first heard that, I thought, good for her. She gets to fight in Hawaii. Bellator gets to go in Hawaii. And then I started thinking about it and everything that comes along with that. People asking her for tickets. People wanting to be in the arena, be around for everything. Valerie, do you feel like her fighting in Hawaii, is that an advantage or disadvantage for her?
For me?
No, for her.
For me, I think it's a disadvantage. No, I understand. I mean, for my part, I think for her it's a disadvantage. The stress, I know the stress. I've been fighting in my hometown a couple of times. My second UFC fight was in my hometown. I love to fight in front of my crowd. Don't get me wrong. It's amazing. But the stress on your shoulder and the people around you, you can't avoid exactly people asking you for tickets and for me, I just feel like it gives me, if people start to boo me and to try to pull me down, it makes me feel even stronger. So, I mean, I don't know. Everybody's different, but for me, I think it's a disadvantage for her.
You guys fought on the same card last time, and I asked her yesterday what she thought of your performance, and she said a lot of good things. What did you think of her performance?
Oh, she did great. I mean, she does great pretty much in all her fights. She doesn't have that many fights. She fights like a very experienced fighter. She's very calm. And even I saw her walk, the aisle going through her fight. We were in the same locker room. Can you imagine? We're in the same locker room. And I realized this girl, she's at the right place in fighting. She's just in her zone. She's in peace there. She doesn't seem like she's stressed or she's scared so. I mean, I think she did great. She did her game plan exactly what she had to do, and she got the win.
Dan Tom, our fight analyst, he's got something for you. What do you have for Valerie Letourneau, Dan?
Hey, Valerie. This matchup, it's funny. There are some kind of parallels with the MMA history. It reminds me of another match between a Hawaiian champion and was at the time a French-Canadian champion, George St. Pierre and B.J. Penn. And one of my favorite parts, it was hard watching, two fighters I like trash talk each other. But beforehand, there was some really fun media they did. And one of my favorite ones was when George St. Pierre went over to Hawaii and was trying all these different foods. Has Bellator reached out to you at all? Will there be any kind of media events or anything in the lead up before the card in December?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, it's so fresh. I mean, it's just been announced yesterday. We signed a contract a couple days ago, so I don't know what's the plan, and we still have time. It's only December 15th. So, no, I don't know what's the plan for the media yet.
Okay, and I guess...
I'm sure they have a plan, but I don't know what's the plan.
Well, I guess more importantly, aside from the fight itself, will you have any plans for after the fight, maybe to stay there and actually enjoy Hawaii? And I'm not sure if you've ever been there before. Obviously, it's fight week, and the week before you have to focus on your preparation. But any maybe plans for you and Hector staying after and checking out the islands?
Obviously, I would love to, and also it's close from Christmas, so I'm looking. My daughter really wants to come for this fight. I spoke to her yesterday. I don't know if I can make it work with her school. We're going to look for that. If she's coming, I'm for sure staying there for at least 1 week after and visit Hawaii. I've been there before, but it was for work with my sponsor, so we didn't get to visit that much. It was very, we went to a couple very specific places. So I want to get to see it more. I'm going to go there a little earlier before the fight and not to visit, but just to adjust. And if Hector and my daughter, Hector's coming for sure. If my daughter's coming, then I'm going to stay there for a little bit.
Well, we're really happy for you, Valerie. You earned this title shot, and, Kate Jackson, Christina Williams, two tough fighters. You got those wins, and it's been very respectful since that night in Temecula with you and Ilima Lay McFarland, so I know that's the way you like it. We look forward to this fight, and it's going to be a great debut by Bellator as well. They're putting together a nice card.
Thank you. Thank you so much, guys.
I hope you have a nice day. Take care.
All right, take care.
All right, bye-bye. All right, that's Valerie Letourneau. 10-6 overall on a 2-fight win streak, fighting Ilima Lay McFarland for the Bellator flyweight title.
She's so chill, huh?
Yeah. Let's talk to Brandon in Louisville. What's up, Brandon? How you doing?
Hey, gentlemen. How y'all doing today?
Good, and you?
I'm doing pretty good. You know what I'd like?
Go ahead.
I'd like Kevin in Chicago and Dan in Oregon to get together. I'd like them to start a GoFundMe, and I'd like them to start a non-profit MMA organization, because they've really got some solid ideas. We would all love to see the best fighters in the world take on each other every time. But you know what happens? You see the same damn fight over and over again. How many straight times would we have seen Joseph Benavidez and Demetrius Johnson fight each other? 4, 5, 20. I mean, those two guys decimated that entire division for multiple years. And I like both of them, but I don't want to see them fight more than twice. More than 3 times if it's a split. So sometimes we got to get some crazy fights. We got to see who really stacks up. And yeah, every once in a while we got to see Brock Lesnar come back and take on DC. You know what? I'm not against that. So, Kevin, Dan, enjoy the sport. Enjoy your weird-ass Russian fights with giant spider robotic ladies coming down from the rafters. Enjoy cards in the middle of nowhere that nobody gives a shit because we can't pronounce the names of the fighters. And enjoy your fights with nothing but NCAA, Junior College Division III, All-American Wrestling Champions, because that's what we all want to see is ground and pound and ground and pound and ground and pound. And to hear about it, non-fucking stop. So enjoy it, guys. I wish you the best of luck. Start your own promotion, and let's see if you last longer than Affliction, or Strikeforce, or Elite XC, or Bodog, or Rage in the Cage, or can I keep going? Because yes, I could. Guess what? The UFC knows what they're doing. It might not always be the best, but they're still around. So fuck off. And guys, I'm excited about Quintet. Gigi, that is a great addition to the gathering. I know I gave you a lot of shit leading up into it.
Nah, you were pleasant the whole time.
Props on that. I'm pleasant all the time.
All right,
I'm just happy. I thought he was telling us to fuck off.
All right, thanks for the call, Brandon. You know, there's times where the things Brandon said I want to say to the other two, but I feel like I can turn the other two.
I like them both.
Just by talking to them.
We don't like
the vampire.
Oh, no. I love Kevin and I love Dan. I was turning to Dan. I don't know if you ever really chimed in, but 2 days ago, remember you guys said, hey, call our rankings?
Yeah.
I'd be willing to do them again. I guarantee you those two would be top 5.
Oh, yeah.
But it goes back to something that I've been on this since probably 2000, late 2016, 2017. Mm-hmm. Hey, man, concede a little bit, give a little bit, discuss, open your mind, you know. If there's some things you want to stay true to, all right, cool. Everybody's got that grandfather or uncle that says, never apologize, never say thank you, or, you know, or whatever. But no, man, that's just not the way it works.
God, who is that monster?
I'm just saying. There's just people like that. They're wired that way. Remember, Trig used to say, "I'll argue till my death, even if I know I'm wrong." Some people will just do it that way. I found that it's fun, but after a while, people stop picking up the phone when you call them because they're like, "That dude's wired a different way." Nobody wants to hang out with that guy, you know. Because
plenty of times.
So you know, but discussion is great. I tried to explain to Dan today. You know, there was a couple times where I flipped it on him when we were having our discussion. He keeps talking about these ratings for Fox, for the UFC, and praising Bellator, but Bellator takes a lot of criticism as well for some of the ratings that they've gone down on. You know what I mean? But at the same time, they struck a big deal with DAZN, and the UFC struck a big deal with ESPN. So those companies must be making some pretty good moves behind the scenes that we don't know about. And then some of the more public scenes, or some of the more public decisions, sometimes they're gold and sometimes they aren't. I just try and trust in both of them that they'll continue with the sport and making it grow. I enjoy covering the sport. I enjoy being a fan of the sport. I enjoy offering my opinion, and I just try and learn from some of the people that I talk to about why things are the way they are. But I can tell you this much. Today, I think Joe Soto was his example. I think it was Joe Soto was his example. And I don't have nothing against Joe Soto. He seems like a nice guy. But if Joe Soto never fights again, well, I think for one, he's cut. But if Joe Soto never fought again and he was still in the UFC, it wouldn't stop the UFC from what they're doing, the business that they're conducting. I gave him the example. You know, Masvidal is almost at a year.
Mm-hmm.
You know how much I'm a big fan of Masvidal?
Mm-hmm.
But has the UFC missed Masvidal?
No.
Right? Has the UFC missed Ben Rothwell? Another guy that we spent some time with in Virginia. No. Now, Big Ben, I think, comes off his suspension, I think, early part of next year. They just cut Josh Barnett, a former champion, a guy that can talk, a guy that can trash talk. They cut him. They cut Frank Mir recently. Cut or let him go free agency, I forget. Roy Nelson, Roy McDonald, Ryan Bader. Has it stopped the UFC? Dana's saying they're worth $7 billion. Let's just say threw $2 billion in more than he really needed to. They're worth $5 billion. One thing's for sure, they're worth 4.025 because that's what they sold for. You're worth what you can, what you can get.
Could they help though?
Seems like they're doing business. Oh yeah, they'd love to keep them. Yeah, but
are they worth the price?
Right, that's the thing. I thought McDonald was a mistake personally. I also thought Bader was a mistake, and Phil Davis. But I don't know. That's just the way it worked out.
Had John Jones stayed around healthy, that would have played into more. But the fact that he wasn't kind of helped out a little bit.
While GSP was gone, they still sold. In 2016, one of the 4 years GSP was gone, they sold 5 pay-per-views that were over $1 million. 2 came courtesy of Ronda, 3 came courtesy of Conor. While Conor was gone the last 2 years, they signed a new deal with a new TV deal worth 3 times as much as the first one. And now they're on ESPN. So some of these big names can trip them up a little bit, but for the most part, they can still conduct their business. Do some of the mistakes they make stink? Yeah, of course they do. I don't want to see Brock Lesnar compete for the heavyweight title. I'd like to see Brock Lesnar come back and fight. Sure. Give him somebody where it makes sense. But not against DC. That night I got caught up in it, though. When DC was talking and Lesnar came in and there was some fisticuffs and some pushing and shoving, I was into it. I was like, what? Rubbernecking. What's going on? Check it out. Cool. Then it took me about a minute or two to go, wait a minute. people are soaking this up. Dana's going to run with this. And I got to show up on Monday to MMA Junkie Radio to talk about this. And it's not going to sit well with a lot of people, you know. And it's true. He doesn't deserve the title shot. But you can't argue what that stadium felt that night or how Twitter blew up that night, you know. And the UFC's their sports entertainment. One thing we'd like to hear less of is the comparisons to the NFL, to Major League Baseball, or anything else in terms of business and how they run themselves. But if somebody does tell me who's the NFL of MMA, then I have to answer the UFC. It doesn't mean I'm comparing them, but they are the #1 organization. Anyway, I haven't heard from Dan today, but I did like Kevin's call.
Yep.
Let's get one break out of the way, and then we come back. I know we still got Dean Thomas to go, and I don't want to get caught up in case we have any trouble locating him. Plus, we can take more calls, 866-522-2846. Maybe talk a little bit about Tough 28. We haven't really chatted much about it. If anybody wants to call in about it. Team Gaslam, up 3-0. Have I seen any prospects? Yeah. I think by the end, I think we'll get at least 2-2 out of women's featherweight and men's heavyweight. But you can tell a couple of them could already drop maybe and compete at 35. You know,
there's a big drop amongst the house, but there are a few people I think that can maybe chime in a little.
Right. All right. We'll be right back.
Where the mountain
They can drink Mentos-flavored Diet Coke without their stomachs giving a single fuck. They are Gorgeous George and Goes. And this is MMA Junkie Radio.
Week 2 in fantasy football starts tonight, and Fantasy Sports Radio is helping you win. Listen to the best fantasy football experts analyze tonight's Ravens and Bengals game and all of this week's matchups from the fantasy football perspective. Find out which players you need to start in your lineup and hear the latest news and injury information, plus weather alerts and interviews with people closest to the game. It's non-stop fantasy football talk 24 hours a day on Fantasy Sports Radio, Sirius 210, XM87, streaming on your phone, and at home on connected devices and speakers. All right, before we talk to Dean Thomas, we've got a couple minutes here. We'll jump back on the hotlines. Who is who, Danny? Who do I click here?
The first one.
All right. Junkie Hotline.
And another thing. Actually, I just forgot to add. Anybody going to Quintet, there are plenty of tickets still available on Ticketmaster. If you haven't already seen my post, Section 105 is what we're trying to make the official Junkie section. Section 105. I've already bought 10 tickets in that area for some friends. I know Lucas grabbed a couple last night. So, Junkies, that's where you grab them.
Brandon, how do those friends go about reimbursing you? Asking for a friend.
Asking for a friend. The post that I tagged those friends on has my email address. They can PayPal me if they feel like they need to, or they can just pay me cash when we get them. Either way.
Gotcha. Cool. Go, man.
All right.
Let's go to Hal in Chicago. What's up, Hal?
What up, though, folks?
Hey.
What's up, brother?
Shallow Hal. Ready for the pick of the night. Ravens, -1. You know what I mean?
All right.
The Ravens.
Ravens -1.
Look, man. And you know it. It's probably up to 1.5 now, but I would still take that. Just real quick, Hunt and Oleanik. This guy screws me every time. I'm definitely staying away from that fight. I can never pick that guy's fights right. But what did he say? That the neck was big and fat, which would make it tough to get that choke in? Okay.
Yep.
All right. Yeah, but I don't know, man. I think that eventually it does go to the ground, and I could see Oleanik pulling something off. But Hunt has... When's the last time he got submitted? Was that in Indianapolis with that bum?
Oh, I didn't say that. But it was Sean McCorkle, yeah. I think that's the last time he got submitted.
Kamara at him, right?
Excuse me?
Didn't he Kamara him?
So... And he's fought a lot of guys that no submissions, so I don't know, man. I like Hunt here. I like Hunt with the second-round KO.
Okay.
All right. So, I know you guys got to get to dinner, so I'll keep it short.
All right, thanks, Hal. Take care.
KO. Round 2.
All right. I think Danny's lining up our next guest.
Yeah, he is.
Man, I'm freezing in here. You guys aren't cold?
No.
A bit.
Yeah?
My body temperature's
Was it the
messed
fan?
up, though.
Well, you don't feel this fan, right?
I don't know.
No, I'm not cold at all. All right. Danny, how are we looking? Are we good to go? He's tending to him? All right.
Yeah.
All right. Dean Thomas was in the corner of...
Is Dan ready to go?
Oh, there we go. All right. Dean Thomas was in the corner of Tyron Woodley for his 4th successful title defense as he defeated Darren Till in the second round. He got him. He submitted him 1 minute into the second round, and Dean also went on to give him his black belt. Dean Thomas joins us on the hotline. Hello, Dean. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Welcome back to MMA Junkie Radio. You're on with George and Goes, and we also have our fight analyst, Dan Tom, here with us. Congrats on the win this past Saturday night. I know it was Tyron Woodley that was in there, but I know you're also the head coach of Team Woodley. So, seriously, congrats, man. 4 title defenses. You guys joined Shamrock, Militich, and Chuck Liddell. So, elite company there.
Yeah, well, thank you very much. I mean, it's something that we have worked hard for. I mean, obviously, he worked a little harder than I did, but it's something that we have been working for. And, I knew he was capable, very capable of doing this. So, this is just the beginning for him. I think that he's just going to kind of run through everybody from now. I think everybody kind of sees it, too.
I've heard Tyron do some media post-fight, and one thing when your name comes up is he says, he gets me. What does he mean by that, at least through what you think he might mean through it? Are you talking about like his moods, or how much you can push him, or is there anything else that you guys have out of your guys' partnership?
A little bit of everything. I mean, he can be extremely moody. He can be OCD. He's a perfectionist. And I just understand him. I mean, I just get him, and I can almost know what he's thinking before he says it, just because like I've been around him for so long. But yeah, I do get him, and a lot of people don't get him. Mm-hmm. But I think if people did get him, they would appreciate him even more so.
Why Dean Thomas? How did you guys even? Do you remember the first time you ran into each other, that you clicked, and then all of a sudden you became such a big part of his life?
Yeah, well, he was. It was in St. Louis. He was at a fight in St. Louis. He was an amateur still, and I had brought a team from Florida to fight in St. Louis. And he looked at me, and I looked at him. I said, "Man, this kid can throw a little bit." And he looked at me and said, "Hey, man, you mind cornering me for my fight?" I said, "Sure thing." And the rest has been history.
Wow. All right.
Did you know right away, Dean?
Yeah, that's a long time ago.
Special?
Yeah, I knew right away. I knew right away. I mean, this was back in 2006. I remember doing an interview, and probably it was like 2008, and they said, who's the next guy you think's going to be able to come out? I said, you got to watch this guy, Tyron Woodley. He's going to be world champ one day. And I did this back in 2008, and look at him now.
Now, between then and now, I'm going to forget about the Marquardt fight, but two key fights that he dropped, if you can recall, one was Shields and the other one was McDonald. How much did that, do you feel like that could have been a setback had he not been strong-minded and driven, in terms of like, damn, will I ever be a champion?
No, I think those fights were great for him, to be honest with you. I wasn't there with the Shields fight or the Marquardt fight. I was there with him with Rory McDonald, and I thought they were good fights for him because he knows what's going to happen if he doesn't perform. And so whenever we're in training, and I go, dude, what are you doing? You can't fight. Remember what happened against Rory? Boom, that's it. He learned from that. So, like, if those fights didn't happen, and I can attest to the Rory fight, if I wasn't there for that, if that didn't happen, we would, you know what I'm saying? Like, he could make these mistakes now, and at this point in his career, he could not afford to make these mistakes. So we're glad we got those mistakes out of the way. He's done it before. We got him out of the way, and he's never going back to that style of fighting again.
Mm-hmm. Tell me something about the matchups prior to Till that a lot of people criticized. Some people said boring. Some people said it was chess playing or defensive or whatever. What was it you saw about Till where you guys agreed, hey, we're not going to stand back and let and be patient. We're going after him. Why was it? What was it about Till that made you do that?
Well, one, a lot of people was like, Till's a big guy, and we know that. And like sometimes, like when you're faced with a bigger opponent, sometimes it's a little safer to be close to him. Not allow him to have space to hit you. So we said we need to get close to him. And then, two is just, in the pocket, there's not a lot of guys who are going to be faster than Tyron Woodley. So, when Tyron is able to set up inside the pocket, he's going to hit you. And not a lot of guys will be able to keep up with him in that range. Now you talk about those other two opponents. You can't force Damian Maia into a pocket fight. He's always going to shoot. So that's why the fight was born. Like, if you want to see Tyron go to work, stand in the pocket with him. Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, he will not allow you to fight him in the pocket. If you go forward on him, he's just going to go back and wait for you to rush him, and he's going to counter you. He will not allow you to stay in the pocket with him. A guy like Darren Till will accept the fight in the pocket. And that's what happens to you when you accept the fight in the pocket with Tyron Woodley.
Dean Thomas is our guest here, and we're talking about UFC 228 and Tyron Woodley's fourth successful title defense. Dean has been his head coach through this title run, and it's one of the best we've ever seen in this sport. All right, Goes, what do you have for Dean Thomas?
Dean, the black belt, is that a decision that you made on the spot that night? Have you been carrying that around with you waiting for the right moment, or is how did that play out?
No, I had known probably a couple of days prior, because Tyron deserved that black belt probably 2 years ago, and he kind of always would talk about it, man. I can't wait to get my black belt one day. Can't wait to get my black belt one day. And he would always talk about the time where he was supposed to get it and he never got it. And prior to that fight, we're working out, And like his submission game is just ridiculous. A lot of people don't realize that, but it's ridiculous. And I'm thinking, man, I should give him his black belt. I know he's going to submit Darren Till. I was like, if he just gets in the spot, I know he's going to submit him. So that Thursday, the night before the weigh-in, I actually went home and got the belt. I went home to Florida, and I got the belt. And then I came back and I said, I'm going to give him his belt if he wins this fight. And he went out and won the fight by submission, just like I thought he would. And it was a beautiful moment for both of us, actually, for me to be able to award him the black belt and for him to receive it and share that moment with the world.
Wait, did I hear that right? Wednesday you were with him. Thursday you made the decision and flew back from Dallas to Florida, and then either Thursday or Friday you were back with. You went just for the belt.
Well, I had to do a comedy show actually, but there was I kind of put killed two birds with one stone. I was like, you know what? I'm going to go do this show, and I'm going to pick up his belt. So it was like motivation to just come back home and kill two birds with one stone.
I was going to make you aware of Federal Express, but you just covered it with the comedy show stuff. Okay, all right, Coach. No worries.
Dean, had he finished Till maybe by knockout, would he have still gotten the belt?
Yeah, I would have still given it to him. Like, I was contemplating on whether, like, I wanted to give it to him backstage or, you know, in the hotel room afterwards. But just him finishing with a submission was just a beautiful thing to see, because not a lot of people recognize his submission game. When you look at Tyron Woodley, everybody thought he was, one, they automatically assume he's a boring fighter, and two, if they do think he's offensive, it's just, wrestling and a right hand. But like I said, his submission game is ridiculous. And he earned it. Like, a lot of people thought, I gave it to him just because he won that fight by submission, but he earned that. He earned it over the last 10 years of training.
All right. Our fight analyst, Dan Tom's got something for you. What do you have for the coach, Dean Thomas, Dan?
Hey, Dean, you and Tyron are kind of synonymous with one another when people are talking about it and giving credit, rightfully so, to Woodley's, cerebral approach, mental game, strategizing. And in interviews, it almost feels like Woodley already has like a profile on all the top contenders. Like nobody's going to get the jump on you out of that group. Would I be wrong in saying so, Dean? And do you yourself have your own profile on the top contenders in your head?
Yeah, so you gotta understand, this is, we're talking about like that cerebral approach. You understand, like, when I started fighting was back in the 90s, and I didn't come from a wrestling background, I didn't come from a striking background, I didn't come from a jiu-jitsu background. I learned it all at the same time. So when I was fighting guys, I would always use a cerebral approach to fight them. Today, obviously, everybody's good at all those three areas, but I still use that same approach to find out where the holes are in those areas. So that's where that cerebral approach comes at me and Tyron Woodley. I've been doing this for 20 years, that same approach. Like, I never learned how to wrestle so that I could beat a wrestler. I learned how to wrestle so that I could beat strikers. So we use that same approach nowadays. And I'm constantly, studying guys and that's what I do. My full-time job, really, I coach fighters, but the majority of my coaching just really comes from studying and finding holes in people's games. And right now I got holes on everybody. So, when it comes like that profile, I'm looking at everybody. I got everybody in my vision.
Awesome. Following up on that, let me just ask you something on a matchup that doesn't involve Tyron, but relates to him because it's his division. Recently, Kamaru Usman got a matchup against RDA, Rafael Dos Anjos. Can you give us a quick breakdown, Coach, on what you think, what your initial feels on that fight is?
That's tough because, and I don't mean to be, not generalize the whole nation as fighters, but Brazilian guys kind of have certain ways that they fight, and sometimes when they start falling off, it's really difficult for them to come back. And, after we saw RDA against Colby, he didn't look all that great. And I think that Usman is a better version of Colby. So I think it's going to be a tough fight for RDA to win. I think Usman matches up well against him. I mean, he switches stances, and he strikes equally well from both sides. He's got power in his hands. He can wrestle. And I think he's got an underrated submission game in his own right. And he's very tough-minded, too. He studies a lot, too. So I think Usman wins that fight. I can't imagine RDA being able to muster up the gumption to put pressure on Usman to break him.
Coach, I'm very curious. Hopefully you will play along here. But if I throw out a name, can you tell me one of their holes? Or is that top secret stuff you got to use for game planning? Like, I would start with GSP. What's one of his holes?
Well, I mean, right now, like GSP's whole is I think is mentality.
Okay.
He's never been a natural fighter.
Mm-hmm.
He's a great competitor, one of the greatest competitors the UFC's ever seen, but he's never been a natural fighter. And it's hard to really learn how to do that and to get that. I mean, and I think it goes all the way back to when he fought Matt Serra, when when Matt hit him that first time. I mean, he turned away and started tapping. You know what I mean? So that's a lot about a person's personality, not just necessarily their fighting ability. That's in your DNA. I mean, he's been able to overcome some of that and compensate it for just being a great competitor, but he's not a natural fighter. And when you fight him and you force him to fight and you can fight with him, GSP will break.
Usman?
I think the same thing. I think the same thing a little bit. I think, but he's a little bit more of a fighter than GSP. But I think his chin hasn't been tested yet. And his defense on his feet isn't the greatest. I think he's still working on it, but I think the defense on his feet isn't the greatest.
Last one, Covington.
Covington is slow.
Okay.
Colby's just slow. You know what I'm saying? Like, he can grind, and it's part of the reason why he can grind, because he's not an explosive athlete.
Mm-hmm.
When you get guys like, that are really explosive, it takes a lot more energy to do it. But Colby he's slow on his feet. He's everything he does is very slow. So, you can exploit opportunities on him just because he is so slow.
And if Gastelum were to beat Whitaker, does it become attractive for the champ to contemplate moving up to fight just because they have a history where Tyron has actually beaten Gastelum? I know Tyron kind of wants to get away from matchups, but you're the coach. I'm sure it's fun to strategize. What do you think of it when people start saying, hey, different divisions and different titles and different goals? Do you like that, or are you more about, hey, stay within your own lane, clear out this division, become the greatest there?
I mean, once Tyron establishes himself as the greatest welterweight of all time, I see no problem with him going up. I mean, it's kind of like what I recommended Amanda do. Amanda is the greatest, women's champion at 135 pounds. She has no choice but to go up right now. So, if something happens, if she doesn't win the title at 145, she still goes back and she's still the greatest bantamweight champion, female bantamweight champion ever. But I think Tyron still has some unfinished business to do in the welterweight division once that happens. He has no problem going up to fight, whether it's Whitaker or Gastelum. And Gastelum will be, an interesting fight now, because I think Gastelum has gotten better now. But when it comes to, the weight, the weight difference is not going to matter anyway, because Gastelum missed weight by 10 pounds last time anyway, so he's going to be fighting the same guy.
Gotcha. All right. Coach, it's always a blast to have you on the show. You're a wealth of knowledge, and we're very happy for your success. And this has been quite a run with Tyron Woodley, so congratulations on all that. And it's really also cool when we catch you on looking for a fight with Dana White.
Thank you so much, gentlemen. I appreciate you guys having me.
All right, take care. We'll see you, Coach.
Take care. See you.
Bye. Chill, huh? Chill, dude. I like it. He had great answers for everything we were looking for.
He's smart. I mean, he's kind of a jokester, so I think sometimes people think, Dean, but he's actually really, really smart.
Yeah, he used to do similar to what Dan does. I don't know if I can put this out, but Dan will break down a fighter for you. Dan Tom will be here to the left. Dean, same thing.
He had a business.
Yeah, exactly. You say, hey, look, I'm looking at this guy, Dean, and it was somebody else. Do you know Dan?
No, I don't know.
He had a partner in it, and they would break it down and then kind of give you back like a report. Like if you're watching the YouTube here, youtube.com/MMAjunkie video, maybe not that thick. That's probably about 100 pages, but at least a good 20 pages of this is what we saw. We looked them up. We did the film. This is how we think you can beat them. Dan's dabbled a little bit of that as well. So you're right. Cerebral coach. He just happens to be a funny motherfucker.
Yeah, that's it.
He does the comedy. He hangs out with Matt and Dana and goes on the road, and he's fought, but overall, I've never heard a bad thing about him. Yeah. All right, let's take this last break, and then when we come back, we'll actually talk a little bit about what Dean touched on. Tyron Woodley's stance or his place, I should say, amongst all of the welterweights that have ever fought in our sport. Primarily the champions, obviously. So we'll discuss that when we come back. It's our daily debate. You're listening to MMA Junkie Radio on SiriusXM's Fight Nation, Channel 93.
They are the Wright brothers of mixed martial arts. They are Gorgeous George and Goes. And this is MMA Junkie Radio.
Sirius XM and the Weather Channel want to help keep you and your family safe during Hurricane Florence. The Weather Channel is being simulcast on Sirius XM Channel 145 for both subscribers and non-subscribers. Hear the latest on the storm's path and what to do if it's headed your way. A special presentation of the Weather Channel on Sirius XM channel. It's active on all active and inactive Sirius XM radios. Again, folks, that's channel 145, and please let non-subscribers or anybody that's had it before and may be inactive that the channel will be there for them to use as a resource. All right, it's now time for the Daily Debate. Y'all ready for this?
Let's do it.
All right, this should be a good one, and I think this will be kind of like the little bow on UFC 228 and talk of Woodley. Even he's probably tired of talking about himself, and he was a damn winner, for crying out loud. All right, guys, here we go. The Daily Debate question for today is, what is Tyron Woodley's place among welterweights all time? YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, follow along. I want to hear your thoughts as well at some point today. Here are your choices. Is he the GOAT? And I know there's someone out there that doesn't know what that means. Greatest of all time. Is he behind GSP? Is he behind GSP and Matt Hughes? Or is he outside the top 5? Go first, Goes.
When we talk about GOAT, I'm still going to have GSP there. When I break down those two people, the one thing that I look at over and over is, even though GSP didn't have all the finishes in the world, he left no doubt when he was doing that. And Tyron has a few fights where he left doubt. It's the only thing that separates those two from me. Right after him, Tyron Woodley. That's his spot. But I think he's creeping on GSP's spot. And I have a feeling it's going to get settled mano a mano.
Oh, really? You think it's going to be Woodley and GSP?
I think it'll happen.
Oh, wow. All right. How about you, Dan Tom?
I don't know. I got George St. Pierre as my GOAT. His resume is kind of hard to combat at any angle, really. But I still have Matt Hughes up there. I'm a guy that I appreciate the classic muscle car more than the new car. And people are like, oh, the new car has AC and has electric and has all these new features. And I'm like, that's true. But it'll be outdated within the next year. At a certain point, we do have to cherish what's there. But yes, at a certain point, to counter that, we have to go with the facts. And the facts are, Hughes has 2 title runs compared to Woodley's 1. He had to lose his title, regain it, and have 2 runs. And having 1 run is hard enough to do. Even within those runs, he faced adversity in some of those fights. BJ Penn, one of his last successful defenses, had to face adversity, come back to leave no doubt. Facing multiple generations of guys like Sakurai, Carlos Newton, Hoist Gracie, but then, of course, still facing the Joe Riggs, the George St. Pierres, the BJ Penns. Tyron Woodley's faced 2 eras too, the cost checks and whatnot, and you can kind of, put an angle on those into when he caught those guys, but Woodley has faced multiple eras. He's just not there yet. In my opinion, he's creeping on Matt Hughes' spot, but I need to see more from Woodley. Kind of like Goes alluded to, I hate to nitpick because I picked Woodley to win this past weekend. I'm so happy for him. I'm glad he's finally getting his due, but if we're having this debate and we do have to nitpick, there were some fights you can argue that, well, did that really go his way or not with certain judges' scorecards or the, surrounding circumstances of the fight if you really want to nitpick. I think Woodley still needs a couple more solid defenses. If he gets that 1 mano-a-mano to George St. Pierre, I think that really shakes up this whole argument. But right now, I got Woodley number 3.
Oof, okay.
So right behind Hughes and St. Pierre, I guess would be my vote.
I think that on Saturday, Woodley overtook Matt Hughes, but he stands behind GSP. So I guess I'm with you. I don't think he's the GOAT. I also don't think he needs to match GSP in terms of how many title defenses he has to be the GOAT. That was a great analogy, by the way, with the muscle car and the more current stuff that happens. Like I was trying to throw in there, Sirius XM 360 XL and Apple Play.
Yep.
I'm more that guy a little bit, and the sport evolves, but the athletes get better. Somebody pop in UFC 1. Pop in UFC 10 and watch the level of competition. It's nowhere what you see now, but at that time it was awesome, And so I would say, Dan, that great points. He did have the 2 title runs, but he had 2 title runs because he also lost in the middle of one of his title runs, which Tyron hasn't done yet. Riggs, I think you were being a little bit generous there to lump him in with GSP and Penn. He's the one that stepped in for
generational
for
guys. But but I would argue that look what Hughes was doing. He wasn't Liddell or Ortiz, so to speak. Definitely not a Conor McGregor, obviously. But he was a flagship guy that you can go to hardcores who have long tuned out from the sport and they go, I remember Matt Hughes. Whereas I don't know if, Woodley, even now, even within our own realm, is really, is he one of the top 10 or top 5 guys, waving the flag? Now, you could argue the UFC's not really helping him in that promotional aspect, but let's be real. I mean, Matt Hughes, as far as that name brand, if we're looking at name brands that are recognizable, established like a McDonald's, whereas a Woodley, he has a ceiling that I think is higher than Matt Hughes's. In fact, I think he could overtake GSP, but those things still have to happen. As of right now, 3.
Here's where I think you may trip. Sakurai and Newton, I just think they just happen to be good fighters at the right time.
Sure.
I don't think they're greats. And so
they were tough.
Their wins didn't, looking back now. I know it's easy to say now. Looking back now, I'm like, well, the Penn win was great. The 2 that he had there. Oh, no, excuse me. He took 1 from Penn, right? Yeah,
one. Yep, 1.
The GSP win, that wasn't that great. And I'll tell you why, because I thought GSP was fighting well before all of a sudden he got caught in that armbar. Whereas it seems like Woodley always got the #1 guys. He did have a draw, all right? GSP had clear-cut wins. Hughes had clear-cut wins. But he always, Kevin from Chicago might have a problem with what I'm saying. He thinks Kamaru was the #1. But, Till was right up there. Wonder Boy was right up there. Mai, I think, brought in an 8-fight win streak into what he was doing. So I feel like Woodley was getting the best of the best right at that right time, where I thought Hughes just kind of was in a convenient era where, well, he's pretty good. So that's why I don't take as much stock into some of his wins. All right, here's how the voting came in. 51% said behind GSP. That was the #1 answer. 30% behind GSP and Hughes. And then we go to outside the top 5. Y'all fucking dumb, in my opinion. I don't believe that. 12% there. 7 actually said the GOAT. I would also disagree with those, but that's not nearly as crazy as outside the top 5. 1,533 of you voted. Thank you very much for participating in today's daily debate. All right, we're going to finish up the show here. Thank you very much for tuning in. Thanks to Dean Thomas and Valerie Letourneau for their time. Tomorrow, Felice Herrick will stop by, and we'll see you then. Be champions.